Thank you, Mr Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to rise to speak to the first reading of the Consumer Guarantees Amendment Bill in the name of Dr Jackie Blue, and I'd like to commend the member for bringing this very good bill to the House. The bill itself it covers two issues. The first is that of extended warranties, as we've heard from the previous two members. Extended warranties, Mr Speaker, is shown by a Ministry of Consumer Affairs survey that was done in 2009 of 1,000 people, a very good survey. The previous member was clearly unaware of this survey, but it's a very rigorous one, unlike some that the Green Party have done recently. But this survey showed that very few New Zealanders, in fact, knew about the implications of extended warranties. They didn't realise that, in fact, they provide customers with very little protection and certainly do not cover more than the Consumer Guarantees Act does. There are two exceptions to that, goods that are bought at auction and goods that are purchased by a tendering process are in fact not covered in the same way. They don't confer the same protection from the Consumer Guarantees Act, and so extended warranties in those cases may well be worth considering purchasing. But in the main, when a consumer purchases a good from a retail chain store, for example, it's most unlikely that the purchase of an extended warranty will confer them any additional protection than they will already get under the Act. The second provision in this bill is around online sales, and the Green Party member Sue Kedgley mentioned my consumer law reform, which is underway at present. The discussion document was released a few weeks ago, and submissions are being called for at the moment. That written submissions will close on the 31st of July, and then verbal submissions will be heard on the 10th and 11th of August. Online sales form quite a part of that discussion document under the Consumer Law Reform Project because they are a gap in the law. We heard from Melissa Lee that some purchases are covered by the Consumer Guarantees Act and others are not, and confusion, of course, does exist as a result of that. So the provisions in this bill are excellent. I'm pleased to see that think that I'm hearing from the House that Dr Jackie Blue's bill will go to Select Committee, at which point she has agreed to hand the bill over to the Consumer Law Reform process, and I'm delighted that she's done that because these matters will be able to be addressed at that point. The member who spoke previously to me, the Green Party member Sue Kedgley, also mentioned that we have very weak consumer protection law in New Zealand. That, in fact, is not the case, and many jurisdictions look very enviously on the consumer guarantees law. It's good principles-based law, and in fact New Zealanders are very well aware of the protections offered to them under the Consumer Guarantees Act. In the survey that I mentioned just previously that was carried out in 2009, 49% of New Zealanders were able to name the Consumer Guarantees Act, and they knew in general terms of the protections that were conferred on them by this Act. They knew that if they had an issue with a good that they had bought, they could go back to the retailer and they had the right for replacement or repair or to have reimbursement, that good reimbursed or the money reimbursed. 49% under these circumstances, Mr Speaker, those who are familiar with research will know that this is an extraordinarily good result, and it shows that the Ministry of Consumer Affairs over a period of time has done a very good job of educating people as to their rights under the Consumer Guarantees Act. I'm looking forward, Mr Speaker, to seeing the submissions that will form the Consumer Law Reform submissions. Looking forward also to hearing the oral submissions that will follow. This is a revolutionary initiative here in New Zealand. We're reviewing 7 pieces of legislation with the intention of rolling those into 2 pieces of principles-based legislation, the Fair Trading Act and the Consumer Guarantees Act. That will simplify the process. It means that New Zealanders will experience less confusion around their rights when they buy goods, and what we aim to set up, of course, Mr Speaker, is a very level playing field where businesses and consumers can enter the marketplace with confidence. Thank you.
Ko te Euro Flavel.
Tēnā no tātou katoa, e te whare.
Mr Speaker, a simple browse of today's Trade Me listings on